I may be coming around to the idea that Eugenio Suarez does not need to be remaindered to designated hitter because I think the Reds' best lineup is with him at third.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. Thank you very much for helping get us there. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. His name's Jeff Carr. We love baseball. We love the Cincinnati Reds, and we love talking about those things so much so we've been doing it for a combined 16 seasons now in podcast form. On today's show, we are going to dig into the youth movement that could be, maybe, kind of, sort of, who's going to have a bigger impact in 2026? Will it be Edwin Arroyo? Will it be Hector Rodriguez? We're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. Also, the Reds' catching position underperformed in 2025. Offensively, they were meh, as Jeff likes to say. Defensively, they were not really that good at all. And we're going to break them down and set some reasonable expectations for the catching core, the dynamic duo of José Treviño and Tyler Stephenson. We're going to figure out what they're going to be able to do for the Reds in 2026. That's coming up here in just a minute. But where we're going to begin is with Jeff's confounded notion that Geno should be the everyday, well, not the everyday third baseman, but should get a lot of time at third base, and that's the best version of the Reds. And I do not agree. We're going to talk about all those things today on the Locked On Reds podcast. Thanks for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the great content we've got coming your way. All right, Jeff, let's get into this because I see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to get another bat in the lineup, and I think that can be done without sacrificing the defense that I think Geno at third base would be sacrificing.
So I definitely agree that he is not as good of a defender at third as Ke'Bryan Hayes is. Nobody is. Nobody is a better third baseman with the glove right now in the game than Ke'Bryan Hayes. But when it comes to the lineup and the equation and everything all together, taking everything into account, I feel like the Reds' best lineup is with Geno at third. And hear me out on this. It's not simply just Ke'Bryan Hayes or Eugenio Suarez who is better at hitting, because clear that that's Eugenio Suarez. The other part of this is how the rest of the lineup moves. And I think defensively the Reds can stomach this, which we'll get into in just a minute. But think about this for a moment, Steve. If Eugenio Suarez is at third base, DH now opens up. You can move somebody over there. You could play, let's say you're facing a left-handed pitcher. You could put Spencer Steer in the DH spot and keep a better glove in left field and TJ Friedl. Or if you're facing a righty, you could put Nathaniel Lowe in the DH spot, have Spencer Steer in right field, TJ Friedl in center field. It feels like a better lineup because when you compare the bats of TJ Friedl, Nathaniel Lowe, Spencer Steer, and Ke'Bryan Hayes, I know who's at the bottom. And I know who is an upgrade over that bottom player. So I think that there is a shot here that the Reds can at least stomach the defensive downgrade with the offensive upgrade.
Who, in your estimation, would play better defense at third base? Eugenio Suarez or Sal Stewart?
Probably Sal, but that's more of the what you don't know versus what you do know. Just because, look, Eugenio Suarez isn't horrible. Like, I think that we have said that we believe he shouldn't touch the field and he should be a DH. But when you look at his numbers, he isn't that bad. Because last season he was -3 outs above average at third base. Primarily, he played 6 innings at first base, so I know that might affect that a little bit. But he played 1,348 innings at third base. The year before that, he played 1,362 innings at third base for the Diamondbacks, and he had +3 outs above average. It was actually a better than average defender. Year before that, 8 outs above average, better than average defender. So it's not as if we're talking about Nick Castellanos here at third base. We're talking about a guy who might not be the best glove, but he's definitely not the worst.
I think for me, all things being equal, I would much rather, if they're going to be some extending, scooting around, to get those bats in the lineup. And that's not a bad idea. Everything you said is true about the bats. I would much rather they move Sal Stewart from first to third, and you can still accomplish all of those things that you just said. You can move Geno to first. You can do Nathaniel Lowe at first, or to do the things with Spencer Steer. Spencer Steer could play first, and you could do all of those things by moving Sal Stewart over to the hot corner and letting him play there. And I think the more time that you play a Eugenio Suarez at third base, the more likely he is to be exposed as a defender. And I would much rather see him just go out there and take his cuts as a designated hitter more often than not. Now, he is going to play the field. He will play a little bit of first base. He will play a little bit of third base. But ultimately, I think your idea is sound. Get those other bats in there, depending on what handed the pitcher is. But let's do it with the young guy that I think will play better defense than Eugenio Suarez will over a prolonged period of time.
I think the interesting question here too, because I've seen this a lot this offseason, and there is part of my brain that wants to see if Ke'Bryan Hayes can be a closer to league average hitter. I don't know that he can ever be a league average hitter, but he could be closer to league average. And that would be pretty awesome. But what is more likely between Ke'Bryan Hayes being closer to a league average hitter or Sal Stewart / Eugenio Suarez being close to a league average fielder? Because we know those guys are going to hit better than Ke'Bryan Hayes is. And I kind of think it's the other. I think it's like Suarez or Stewart being closer to a league average fielder as opposed to Hayes being a league average hitter. And that's the hard part for me, because I like Ke'Bryan Hayes. I really do. But when you're evaluating guys apples to apples and looking at statistics and how this team needs to operate this season, they've got to score 4.5 runs a game. They are more likely to do so with Ke'Bryan Hayes out of the lineup.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I really think we talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, Jeff. The farther this season goes along, the more I think Ke'Bryan Hayes could find himself in the defensive replacement role. And if that's what happens, that means everybody else is hitting and things are going good. And I like that. If that's where things end up, the other little piece of this, I just to throw it out there, there is another option at third base already on this team. And that's to let Spencer Steer play over there a little bit again. He has significant time at third base. He likes to play all over the place. He could give you some innings there as well. And while, again, not going to be the Gold Glove caliber defense that Ke'Bryan Hayes gives you at third base, right, it would also let you do the things with the lineup that you're talking about wanting to be able to do. So I think you were close. The idea is to get the guys in the lineup so that they can score the most runs. I agree with you. The Reds can score 5 runs a game. We're going to be having a lot of fun in October. Really, we are. But it doesn't involve having to expose Geno. There are so many other options on this team that Terry Francona has to tinker with that I think they can stick with the plan with Suarez. And the plan from get-go has been he's going to be the DH, a little bit of first, a little bit of third. That's what we're going to do. They can stick with that and still do what it is you want them to do by moving everybody else around.
Well, a big part of this lineup is also who is catching and who might be DHing if he's not catching, talking about Tyler Stephenson specifically. But looking at this position for the Reds, I think that we are more comfortable with the production than what they actually presented last year. So when we look toward this coming season, our expectations may not necessarily be as lofty as we would like them to be.
Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms. They work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it all. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. And if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take your taxes off your plate and get back into your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today.
Thanks for making Locked On Reds part of your day, and maybe your first listen, your second listen, however many listens you give to us. We appreciate you. Look, you already make us your team every day. Now, take it up a notch and go ad-free with the Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonreds.supercast.com to learn more. It's $5 a month or $50 for a whole year. You save 2 months there on that sort of a deal. You get an ad-free feed, audio podcast feed for you. You get access to the members-only Discord, and so much more. Check it out. Link in the description below. The Locked On Reds Everydayer Club. All right, Steve, I feel like we really appreciate the contributions that Tyler Stephenson has given to the Cincinnati Reds over the course of his career. And we feel as though he is one of the better hitting catchers in all of baseball. We feel as if he is one of the better catchers in all of baseball. And yet, throughout the offseason, I have seen rankings, I have seen projections, I have seen many things that talk about the top 10 catchers in Major League Baseball, and Tyler Stephenson is not on those lists. None of them. I haven't seen him appear anywhere on those lists. And then when you consider the backup in José Treviño, who we heard, I mean, he was getting so much praise at Reds Fest. People were talking about him as a future manager. He is lauded for his ability to be a very good backup catcher. When you put it all together, offensively, the Reds were right smack dab in the middle last year, 15th when it comes to the catcher position. And defensively, they were 23rd. And quite frankly, they've got to be a lot better this year.
Well, Tyler Stephenson's defense has always been questioned, right? Every year it's he's improved this, he's improved that. He's working really hard to get better defensively at this thing. And to his credit, he's put in a lot of work along the way. You know, when J.R. House was here, Tyler Stephenson put in tons of work to be better at framing, to be better at blocking, to do things, to elevate his defensive game as a catcher. But the fact of the matter is he started way behind a lot of other catchers in the league defensively. Now, the idea was that his bat was going to make up for all that. And it has at times. He's not been consistent. And his availability has been a problem over the last several seasons, which I think leads into all of this. Tyler Stephenson is heading into a contract year now. This is going to be the year that he needs to prove himself. And I really, truly hope that that translates onto the field, because what he gave last year, a 1.3 in WAR, only managed to get into 88 games, slash line of 231, 316, 421, 13 home runs. All of those numbers need to go up. All of it. The WAR needs to go up. The homers needs to go up. That slash line needs to improve, because quite frankly, the 316 on base was okay, but the 421 slugging needs to be better for Tyler Stephenson to make up for the defensive liability. And okay, liability is a strong word, but the defensive problem
low average,
because José Treviño is the better catcher on this team if we're talking about defense. So if we can get a designated hitter for the catcher, that would be perfect. You let Tyler bat, you let Jose catch, but you can't do that. I'm checking. Wait, let me look. Yeah, that's against the rules.
Don't tempt Rob Manfred.
We can't.
Don't
we
do
can't, it. We can't do that. So yeah, I'm sorry. Wait, yeah, we should delete that. Don't tempt Rob Manfred. That's going to be that's going to be part of the new CBA negotiations, Jeff. But really, I mean, Tyler Stephenson's talking points have always been that the bat will make up for any defensive shortcomings that he gives you behind the plate. And that, oh, by the way, he's not terrible. He can throw out some runners. He can do some things. But the last few years, injury has just derailed that offensive ability to make a difference in the lineup. And 2 years back, he did get hot and he went on a little home run power surge and was barreling the ball and did things fairly decent. But that didn't transition when he started off injured last year. So it really is the time where we talk about being excited about this Reds lineup. We talk about them being able to score 5 runs a game. And as much as, you know, Matt McLean rebounding and Ellie being more like what we expect from Ellie and the additions of Suarez and all those things play into that, you can't minimize the impact that what's happening at the catcher position is going to have on this lineup. They're going to be hitting down there in that bottom third, probably, if the Reds build the lineup like we think they're going to.
Yep.
But Tyler Stephenson would still have the ability to do some damage down there, looking at who should be hitting immediately in front of him a spot or two. So this is the time for Tyler to shine. He wants to go get paid next season. And nothing would make me happier than him to have the best offensive year of his career and be able to go do that, because that means the Reds are scoring those 5 runs a game.
Means good things for them this year. I think it's interesting, because baseball, we always hear, man, baseball, it's a complicated game. There's a lot that goes into it. But I think it's a complicated game with simple answers to questions that people have. Is the answer just as simple as flipping their playing time? Because I think if Stephenson is healthy, we flip what we saw last year. Last year, Stephenson played at the catcher position in 69 ball games. José Treviño played at the catcher position in 90 ball games. So yes, if you were to ask me who catcher number 1 is, it's Tyler Stephenson. But if you were to look at the numbers from last year, it's José Treviño. And you cannot have that be the case if catcher is going to be a more improved position for you. The other part of this too is that with a Eugenio Suarez, and bringing it back to our conversation from earlier, with Eugenio Suarez in the DH position more days than not, Tyler Stephenson is going to just get more straight off days. So I think that we will see him in the catcher position more games as long as he remains healthy, and that's really up to him. But I think that that's going to be the key to seeing this position improve, because when 2/3 of your game, that was math on the fly, that might not be quite correct, but with a larger fraction, fractions are not much fun. With a larger fraction of the playing time going to José Treviño, that would explain the hitting. It wouldn't necessarily explain the fielding, because we tend to believe that José Treviño is a better fielder. But all in all, I think the catcher position will improve for the Reds if we just see Tyler Stephenson play there more.
Well, and it comes back to that thing that Chris Welsh says all the time. Availability is the best ability, right? And Tyler has not been available, and he needs to be available both for him personally, financially, heading into 2027, and for the Reds to do the things that they need to do. Look, I think you're right. Given what the rest of the DH / move people around situation looks like, it's going to be harder to get Tyler turns as the designated hitter. They'll do it some, but it's going to be harder. They're going to have to work at it more, because who are you going to take out of the lineup in order to do that, right? You're going to move Geno to a spot. That means you're going to take somebody out. I mean, I guess the one configuration that works with Tyler at DH is that you put Geno at third base and Key Bryan sits, right? That, which is an upgrade to the lineup. Everything else is a little suspect with the
might be a net negative, considering Treviño's bat enters the lineup. So
right. So you look at those things, and it's a little wonky to get him significant DH time. All that being said, you're going to have to manage him much more traditionally. You'll see José Treviño on getaway days. You'll see José Treviño somewhere probably in the middle of the stretch of the week. Tyler Stephenson catching 5 days a week, Treviño catching 2. That ratio feels right. Now, the question is, if Tyler stays healthy, do his legs hold up? He told us that his sweet spot's 130 games when we talked to him a few years back here on the show. And 130 games behind the plate would be a lot for him, given his injury history over the last several years. Do I think he can do that? Yeah. If he says 130 games he can catch and be good, then I agree with that. But that means you're probably trying to shoot for him catching 120 games in the hopes of keeping his legs available for October and some playoff baseball. So as much as we talk about them being able to manage the pitching staff and keep something in the tank and life in the arms to get into the postseason, that same expectation from me holds true for the catcher position. You have to play them in such a way so that they can still walk when they're trying to get off a plane in October to play playoff baseball.
Right. It's a hard position to play, that's for sure. But I know, like, we've talked a lot about Hunter Green and how many starts can we reasonably expect him to make over top of what he made last year. Because I know that Stephenson, is always betting on himself, as every player does. But saying that 130 games he could catch, Man, that would be, yeah, it's literally double. Like that would be the most surprising. That would be more surprising than Hunter Green throwing 30 starts this year by a long shot, simply because you're jumping from 69 to 30. Like that would be a ton, but or 69 to 130. I would think that if he got closer to that, if he started 100 games at catcher, the Reds are winning the division. And again, we're looking at like games played. We're not looking at deep metrics here, but like if Hunter Green's throwing 30 starts, if you're getting 100 starts at catcher for Tyler Stephenson, feeling really good about how this team makes up. But again, we're talking about guys that have not gotten that close to that number in their career. Because even looking back through Tyler Stephenson's career, okay, so he did catch 127 games in 2024. So it's not that big of a stretch, but he has no other seasons of 100 games or more at the catcher position.
This is going to be a very interesting year for the Reds, and I think we could call it a bridge season for some of these guys with their playing time, because you're right. We've talked about, well, Hunter Green needs to move to the next level, and what I said was the jump to 30 is a jump too big. They need to be able to use him in October, so much more likely you see 25, 26 starts out of him. I think probably the same holds true for Tyler Stephenson. If you're right, if he could get to 100 games behind the plate, I think that would leave enough in the tank for him into October to be able to play back there. And that would be a difference maker for the Reds. All of these guys need a build-up year. They need that year that gets them from how they had to be used when they were injured. You get a build-up year to get those numbers up, and then the 2027 season would be the year that they're all in, that you want 30 starts out of Hunter Green, that you want your catcher at between 120 and 130 games behind the plate. And all of that, of course, will be derailed by Rob Manfred's work stoppage.
I'm lost. No, I'm kidding. The only thing is, though, like, if it's a bridge year for Tyler Stephenson, is the next year with the Reds?
No, it's not.
Listen, let's move along.
Listen, he did an interview out in Goodyear last week. And if you don't have to work very hard to read between the lines. And in the interview, he said, we talked last year. We haven't talked since. That's all you need to know about what the expectations and the plan is for Tyler. They're going to do that thing that I said I was okay with him doing in this unique situation, which is write out the contract and let him head off into the sunset. That's exactly what's going to happen with Tyler Stephenson.
I was going to say, why do I feel like it's like some sort of mafia movie where it's just like, he could come talk to me. I ain't talking to him, but he can come talk to me.
Dude, yes, it sounds like it's exactly like that. And the fact that the Reds took him to arbitration over $200,000 tells me all I need to know. All right, Jeff, listen, as fun as that is to think about, there are some fun things to think about going on in the minor leagues. There's two guys in the minor league system right now that could have an impact on 2026. Coming up next, we're going to tell you which of the two is more likely to make a contribution at the big league level for the Cincinnati Reds this season. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Click subscribe, click the notification bell. But if you can't watch us on YouTube, we are on every single audio podcasting app that's out there. I think at this point, there may be a few that we're not. If you need us on one, let Jeff know. He could probably make that happen for you. Also, the audio feed is where the Everydayer Club lives. $5 a month, $50 a year, ad-free. Locked On Reds also get you the Discord server where Jeff and I are going to be doing some fun things like watch-alongs during the season while the game's going on. We'll be doing some Q&As. We can do something I like to call Ask Me Anything Within Reason. That'll be something that we do. There'll be lots of fun stuff over there on the Discord server, and it also gets you every other Locked On Show's hosts Discord server. So you can talk ball with every single guy doing shows for Locked On. So subscribe today. Link is down in the show description. All right, Jeff, there's two guys that we talked about that we are looking to in 2026 to see kind of how they perform and that might have the ability to impact the Reds in 2026. I came up with Edwin Arroyo when we talked about that because I feel like the Reds are kind of looking for him to make a move and insert himself into the conversation. Not necessarily, oh, he's going to come break camp with the Reds. No, not saying that. but insert himself in the conversation at some point in time in 2026. I like the fact that he's also playing for Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic and getting meaningful at bats earlier than everybody else this season, which I think will help move him along. The other guy is Hector Rodriguez, who you pointed to as a guy that you were looking for. Now, if I'm looking at those two guys, Jeff, who's more likely to impact the Cincinnati Reds sooner in 2026? I think that's your guy. I think Hector Rodriguez could find himself having an opportunity sooner than later, given one, how wonky this Reds outfield is and stitched together that it is, and two, the fact that, he's a little further along right now than Edwin Arroyo is.
Opportunity abounds for Hector Rodriguez this year, and that's why he's got more of an opportunity to affect the Reds on the field. But I have this question for you, Steve, because before we get into the Hector Rodriguez of it all, what if you're at the deadline and the Reds have a need? Do you trade Edwin Arroyo? Because as of right now, he does not have a path.
Yes.
He does not have a path to Major League playing time. And if that's the case, then I think the argument is that Edwin Arroyo could be more impactful, because I think that there is a shot for Hector Rodriguez to have a positive impact on this lineup. But I don't know how big that's going to be. He is a profile of a hitter that the Reds envy. The Reds love guys that make a lot of contact and hit a lot of line drives. Edwin Arroyo hit line drives at almost a 23% clip last year, and he makes more contact than the league average hitter in all circumstances, whether it's outside the zone or inside the zone. The problem is that outside the zone thing, because it's not just that he makes contact outside the zone, it's that he swings at everything. According to StatCast for AAA last year, because they don't have StatCast in like AA and stuff like that. But for the time that he played in AAA, Louisville last year, Hector Rodriguez swung at 15% more pitches outside the zone than a league average hitter does. 46% of the time he was swinging at a pitch outside the strike zone. And now he has a lower strikeout percentage than a CES or an Aristides Aquino or a Reese Hines. But that is because he's facing minor league pitching. And when you get to the major league level, you face a lot better stuff, man, than you face in the minors.
I can hear the keyboard clacking of the comment section right now of the guys that are like, well, he'll fit right in with Ellie De La Cruz and Eugenio Suarez striking out. We'll have all three guys leading the league in strikeouts. I can see it. There's going to be a whole thing going on in the comment section. But you're not wrong. I mean, that's the truth of it all, is that's the area he needs to improve to make a difference. And to your point of trading Edwin Arroyo, it had an interesting thought in my head. Is there anybody in the Reds minor league system right now that has not appeared in Cincinnati that's on your no trade list? I can't come up with a single name. There is nobody in the minor leagues right now that I wouldn't trade in the right deal. And that includes Duno, and that includes Cam Collier, if you get the right return.
I would say Duno, simply because I don't know what the plan is outside of him at catcher. And the other problem with Duno's profile right now is some believe he might be more of a first baseman than a catcher anyway. Mm-hmm. But the future of that position is him right now. There is nobody else. So it kind of feels as though if you trade him, you trade the future plans of an entire position for the franchise. It's not just a single player. It is an entire idea. It is an entire plan that you are now committing to for the foreseeable future. You're going to rotate in free agent catchers, and it won't just be, is Ben Rortvedt our third catcher? It'll be, is Ben Rortvedt starting for the Reds? Because that's where they're going to be if they don't have that kind of a plan in place. So he might be the only guy, and I would still entertain some possibilities, but he's the closest.
It's interesting to me because I am much more, when it comes to the prospects and the things you're talking about right there, I am much more of the, worry about tomorrow,
right,
and win this year.
So and generally, me, I agree.
I would trade anybody. I would trade anybody not named. Shoot, I don't even know if there's any. Who's down there that whoever loses out between Rhett Lauder and Chase Burns, I wouldn't trade them.
Yeah.
And Brandon Williamson doesn't really have any trade value right now until he's back in the big league. So those would be like the two guys down there that have significant big league time. I would trade anybody.
And the thing about Arroyo too is that we are going to hear a lot about Arroyo. We're going to hear a lot about both of these guys because early on in spring training, we're going to see more of them than we will as time goes on, because as time goes on, they'll be cut to minor league camp at some point. Albeit I think both Arroyo and Hector Rodriguez will stay in big league camp much longer than they have in years past. But Edwin Arroyo is kind of getting goosed up right now. Like Eugenio Suarez was saying, he's going to be a superstar after having met him. And in all, all objectivity aside, that's what a teammate should be saying about you. But at the same time, when we're evaluating him, his opportunity right now, what it looks like later, like the argument for not trading Arroyo is, well, he's your plan after Ellie. When are you trading Ellie? Because that's like two years down the road.
2 years,
they would
two
do
and
that?
a half. 2.5 max time. It would be 2.5 years. He would be a deadline deal in his final year of team control.
So then we're telling Edwin Arroyo stick in Louisville for 2 more years. Like that also doesn't seem fair because you might stunt his growth too. So there's definitely a lot that goes into this, but I think that of the two, the guy who can make more of an impact this year could be if the Reds decide to trade Edwin Arroyo for that need that they will have at the deadline, because everybody has a need at the deadline. No matter what it is, everyone needs relief pitching. That'll be a case. But do the Reds not get that production out of the lineup that we're hoping for? Edwin Arroyo could be the guy to go get somebody to help that out.
And that is where we're going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen of the day. If you're watching us on YouTube, stick around. We're going to send you over to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national sports YouTube channel, where all of the experts of Locked On Reds, all of the Locked On Reds guys are talking ball all the time. No, all of the Locked On Networks hosts are talking ball all day long. Check that out. We'll send you over there automatically, so just hang on. In the audio feeds, go check out Locked On MLB. Sully's got you covered for Major League Baseball from a national perspective. Lots of fun shows over there for you to check out as well. We'll be back in your feeds tomorrow, gathering up all the news, the notes, the rumors, and the reports to keep you locked on Reds every single day. You shouldn't math on the fly, by the way. The math is almost never correct when you math on the fly.
Yeah, fractions are all relative.